of everything. Anyway, I'll let you eat. I'll see you guys once we get started. Of everything.
Wow, look at everybody.
I'll see you guys once we get started.
Hey,
Okay.
Jackie, Jane, Leslie, good to see you guys. Colin, Brent, you're here.
Yeah, I'm
Wow,
here.
look at everybody. Always a joy. And Shane,
Once we get started.
Yep.
Hey,
Okay.
Jackie,
Well, we're getting
Jane,
started
Leslie,
in
good to
just
see
a
you
few
guys.
moments.
Colin, Brent, you're here.
Yeah, I'm
Wow,
here.
look at everybody. Always a joy.
Oh,
Shane, something about that echo, please.
yes.
Hey, Jackie,
Well, we're
Jane,
getting started in
good to
just a
see you
few
guys.
minutes.
Colin, Brent, you're here.
What did I do?
I don't know.
Oh, you can hear me. Good. Somebody
Yep.
can hear me.
I can hear
Oh,
you.
good. I
My
just have,
preference is not to hear myself 2 or 3 times.
yeah, mine too. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, I got that where I needed it. This can people joined. I'm on. Now I have to bring that up. Where did that screen go? Sorry. This is frustrating.
Hey, Jackie, good to see you.
Hey, I wasn't able to get to see last week's show. And are you guys going to do a little quick review? Can't remember what Blair said. He said he was going to announce something, but if we're working on something, maybe we can take this opportunity to quickly fill me in. Keywords and phrases, hopefully I'll catch on.
Okay, keywords and phrases. Well, Blair, let me know when we've got intro going on here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find which screen you're on. I can hear you guys fine. Normally, if I click Zoom, it all is there, but it isn't right now in a Zoom meeting. Yeah, I know I'm in a Zoom meeting.
Have you tried the escape button?
Nope. Well, I just tried that. Nothing happened.
No. Oh. So Blair, is it okay to kind of just do a few things while we're waiting for you to get
Yeah,
started?
you guys get started. I'll try and find
You
you.
want me to do the intro or just answer
Yeah,
questions?
'cause I can't, I gotta find where you guys are right
Okay.
now.
I was going to say, I don't see the recording continuing. I
I
Uh,
see,
we're live on YouTube, but I don't see the recording going.
Oh,
I
I
see
see it.
recording on
Do
mine.
you see it? Okay.
Oh, I think I found everybody. There you go. I just pushed you guys all down too low. So I just about lost you off my screen at the bottom.
All right.
Okay, so we're all good. Everything's good. I'm back. You're back. Everything's
Back. Okay, well,
back.
Jackie, I'm going to go ahead and do the intro and then I'll give you a little overview of last week, okay? All right, so welcome. This is number 318, the 318th episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience, where we discuss mind models. Mind models are a collection of extensively tested thought frameworks, skills, and behaviors that enable people to transform their lives intentionally. They've been tested and proven to be 80% effective when applied consistently versus mindset, which is only 1% effective. Your host this evening is Blair Dunkley, the creator of Mind Models. This Blair Dunkley experience is his free gift to you. People here can experience all the coaching and things that he offers for free. I'm Patty McClurg, a certified mind model method coach, certified phobia freedom formula coach, and your co-host for this evening. Personally, my models helped me overcome more than a decade of depression. They have positively impacted every area of my life, including my relationship with myself. So we welcome you tonight and look forward to getting to know you better. Now, Blair has begun a new program, Jackie, so I'm going to let him fill you in on this study guide situation. So Blair, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I thought I'd do a really fast walkthrough here because we've got everything set up. I'm going to be putting here, and I believe Jane might have posted the link for 317 in the chat here for Jackie and everyone here. So what I am going to do is I'm going to share my screen quickly and just share this stuff here. So when you sign in, you get to go to the hub here, and you can just literally start the course. And when you click on that, you go here, which is now a welcome page, which you should still be able to see, which is this one here. And then when you click on this, you can then download the PDF, which is right there, which I've already done. And I don't want to do that. I just want to cancel that and go here and go cancel and just whatever. Anyway, it opens it up. Fine, I'll put it there for now. And this is going to now open. And then this is your PDF of what it looks like. And Patty, the amazing Patty, is right there as the co-host. And then this is the study guide. And we start going through all of this stuff on the mind models, what they're about, additional insights and discussion points on this specific 318, a little bit of a quiz, and then answers, and then an answer key. If you want to do essay questions, I love these questions just for thoughtfulness. Then we have our glossary of terms, which is all here in here that we use here, and the threes and ANPU, this whole thing. And tonight we're going to be going through a perspective, impact on relevance, the man on the subway story, which we'll go through. That's going to be in here. And then we go through all of that and a conclusion. So that's what you get, and you can definitely download that. And you get all of that. You like that? It's $25 a month, and you'll get that weekly.
And I put it on my credit card. Like, I'll do that. That looks like so much fun.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
does.
absolutely. You can buy it for one payment of $350, or sorry, one payment of $300, or a subscription payment of $25 a month, whichever you prefer.
Okay, well,
I am posting the link momentarily. So I'll have that for you guys shortly. Okay.
I know Zach mentioned, I don't know is this going out through this link going out in an email to the people that regularly attend?
It is, but
I know
Jackie
Zach
wanted
mentioned
it now, and I actually have that link pretty much available. Just give me a few seconds, but that's basically what that comes down to. Oh, all right. So if you would like to, here's the copy and paste. And that is the link to the funnel right there for the Insider app. the Insider BDE Insiders Hub. So you can be our first.
Yes, let me be here first. I will be
Okay.
absolutely privileged to be that, because I think this is wonderful.
Thank you.
And if you can you save like the PDF online, like with your answers? Like, is it editable or whatever they call it?
It's a PDF that you can, depending on your stuff. And if it isn't, I'll get sent to change that. But it should be editable.
Because it would
for
be
you.
nice to be able to work
Oh,
with it.
no. What you're going to do, what we're going to do is send it out to you as non-editable. What you can do is print it and do whatever you want with it then.
Okay.
Okay? That's what we're supposed to do, according to Zach. So anyway, okay, so that's where that is. And if you know people, please ask them to join us and subscribe to the BDE on YouTube. Okay, with that.
Do you want to talk at all about the YouTube channel? Did you want to promote
right.
that at
Well,
some,
yeah, well, I was
or wait until the end?
well, we have the BD the Blair Dunkley Experience YouTube channel, which I encourage you guys to refer people to, bring them on, have them like and subscribe, and help us grow the numbers here. That would be absolutely ginormous. And so, yeah. So hopefully that's there.
Okay, well, we're doing a series. We've begun a new series, Jackie, Guiding Principles for Effective Communication. And last week was effective communication with self and others. So we did a lot with asking questions and assumptions and self-other situation, what and why emotions, those kinds of things. And the study guide from episode 317 is considered another free sample. So I don't know if we have that link. Is that one of those that you
No,
had?
it's not there yet. That's one thing that I sent was working or little fingers to the bone getting this thing. So
Okay. Well,
we'll be in there.
we'll bring that up again another week, but there
Yeah.
is a free sample of the study guide so that you can see what the pattern of it is going to be.
Well, may I share with you? It's the one that I just showed you is this week's study guide, and it's one that is prettied up the way that it's going to be the template.
So she's reformatting the one we saw last week.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, that makes sense. That's good to know.
Yep.
Anyway, so this week's episode for Principle of Effective Communication has to do with relevance and making things relevant. So I'm going to ask Shane, what does it mean to be relevant?
Be present in the moment, be recognized,
Okay.
be wanted, to be wanted.
To be relevant is to be wanted.
Could be.
Okay.
Make you feel that way. If you feel wanted, you feel like you have some relevance to the relationship you're in.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Relevance to the relationship. I can see that. Leslie, what does it mean to be relevant?
On topic, keeping on topic.
Okay. To be on topic.
Listen,
Okay.
if you're in the middle of a conversation and you answer with purple, that's not being relevant.
That is true. That's outside the box.
It's outside the box.
Yes, that's definitely outside the box.
So stay.
Shannon added in the chat, to be relevant is to be well aligned and appropriate as to time and place. And both of those things are very true. Well said, Shannon. Brent, what does it mean to you to be relevant?
Well, Shannon, yeah, there took some part of that,
He took
that
your
was
words.
Yeah, well, yeah, not, you
Sorry.
know, yeah, be aligned, but like appropriate time and place and present. Um, those were what I was going with. But yeah, and what Leslie, as well as what Leslie put, connection to what the matter, like the matter at hand, the matter present in front of you. So it has to be a connection there.
Okay. So Jane, how does relevance impact communication?
Well, my first thought is that the person that you're speaking with, or communication can actually be one way. It it shows that you're paying attention to what is happening and what the conversation is. I love the care and concern part is part of that. If we think in terms of my first thought when I saw relevance, I thought of influencers. There are so many influencers out there that that are, trying to make a name for themselves or have a name, and they're trying to forward a topic or their opinion, and have something be relevant or become relevant, which is what, today's social climate and the kids, the social media stuff, that's what they want to try and target. So in communication, it would make it uh specific to what people are, or who you're communicating with now. Because if we start talking about a bustle in women's fashion, that's not really relevant to today's fashion, right? Um, Whereas if you're talking about I don't know if you guys have noticed, we were talking about it tonight at the dinner table, the men's shirts, the collars on the shirts are more of a wide wing, so you have to have a bigger knot on your tie, or you've got this really funky small knot, and it's, it for those who are not easily influenced by the trends. I know that for my husband and many of the men at church, a lot of them don't like it because they have a ton of ties. They don't want to have to go out and change everything. And so what the market's trying to do or communicate is not relevant to them.
Right.
So how does this, what Jane was talking about, we're talking about relevance and the impact on communication. How does that relate to assumptions? Jackie, do you want to take a stab at that one? No. Okay, Brent.
Oh, with the assumption piece, like Jane,
Yeah,
there's no
with the assumption
connection
piece. How
to
does the assumption piece impact relevance in communication?
Oh yeah, I had my thought there for a second. Where was I? Uh, yeah, without there's no alignment and appropriate to time and place and present. There's got to be an assumption there to fill in a gap or unknown information. So if
Yes.
there's nothing's relevant, you've got to fill it in. There's a gap. It could be
But what do we fill
misaligned.
it
There's
in
a
with? What do we
What's
fill
that?
it? What do we fill in that gap with? What do we fill in with?
And fill it in with our own internal, information. We just fill that in with something we think might fit. But if we want to clarify it, then asking questions will give us to bridge that gap and find out if those assumptions are accurate or, inaccurate.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well said. But we do fill in that gap with information. We're actually using our own perceptions oftentimes to fill in a gap, and perceptions being more opinion related. Jackie, did you want to add something?
I did, but now it went out of my head. Oh gosh, I'll come back. I'll come back.
It's okay. Give me a high sign. I'll try and stop really fast so you can keep it in your head.
Find Brent's conversation in my head. He said something very important. Anyway, I'll get back.
Okay. So we fill in those things with assumptions or perceptions. I'm sorry, perceptions, assumptions, things that come from the inside of us. Perceptions are basically opinions. So how is your opinion relevant in communication? Colin, you want to try that one?
How is your opinion relevant in
Relevant in
communication?
communication.
Oh,
Yes, Jackie.
sorry, Colin. I just remembered definition of a word. I assume that when I say that is very authentic or beautiful, that means certain things to me because I'm getting specific. However, that word may not encompass the same definition as me. So sometimes if I'm having a problem with assumptions, I wonder if it might be around the definition of a word.
Yes. Our
Having
names and labels are don't always mean the same thing to us as they do to someone else.
Thanks to Brent, that was what came up in my mind when he was chatting. Anyway, sorry, Colin.
No,
No,
thank you,
well
Jackie.
done. That's a great point, Jackie. So, Colin, how is your opinion relevant in communication?
Well, if it doesn't align with the topic at hand, or if it's not, if I haven't checked for alignment, it can cause some problems.
What mind models do we use to check for assumptions, to check for relevance? What mind models do we use for that?
Is that to me again, or is that to the group?
It's to the group because I haven't figured out who I'm calling on yet.
Okay.
Can I
Shannon?
circle back to something
Yeah.
that Colin said that sparked a thought in my mind?
Yes.
I think that when we're looking at self-other situation,
Mm-hmm.
anytime you pull self out and you just have other in situation, you're asking how is an opinion relevant in a conversation? You can't just opinions are a part of self, and you can't withdraw self from the Venn diagram. Do you know what I mean? To have that balanced overlap in the center of self, other, and situation, I think it's an important presence to bring to any of those to have a well-balanced blend.
It is definitely
of
to
those three.
recognize your own assumptions and your own opinions. So how do you check in with others on what their opinions and perceptions are, Shannon?
You ask them questions.
You ask questions. Well done. There's Jackie, ASK in the chat. Assumptions stop knowing. That's a mind model and an acronym. Assumptions stop knowing. So, Blair, do you have anything that you would like to add to any of this to this point?
So it's not exactly a double negative, but I'm going to ask it this way because I've been pondering this and I keep on coming back to the same question. So what is the relevance of relevance?
Oh, goodness sake, Blair, you must have taken that class in college. If the tree falls and,
Yeah.
nobody hears it, did it
Did
make a sound?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Who
I
decides what's appropriate time?
I'm
Yes,
thinking
Leslie.
Right from the get-go. Right
What?
from the beginning of the conversation. Relevance is relevant.
what makes it relevant? What makes relevance relevant, though?
Well, when you say that, Blair, I immediately think about the question you asked in coach training, what time is it? And if someone's answer's blue, then that's not relevant. So you've got that frame. I forget what it's
That's
called. but
exactly that's the same example.
It's like the box.
Only with
Yeah.
Like all questions are form an information box or container.
Yeah, there's a frame. Yeah.
Yeah, every question you ask, whether implied or stated, actually contains the information of all possible answers to that question.
I'm
What?
just trying to filter that one. All possible questions to a specific answer.
No. A
Yeah.
question.
One
Frame.
question all possible answers
Yeah,
within a box.
Box.
yep.
Is there any negative space inside of the box?
Yes and no. It depends how the question's framed.
Okay.
So your question is, yes, there is negative space, but there's also positive space.
Right. Yeah, because this relevance thing was kind of like wiggling in and not feeling that comfortable. I could probably understand why, because sometimes I'm not relevant. However, it was like
Jackie,
relevant.
may I interrupt you just for that one comment?
Mhm.
That there are times you said there are times when you are not relevant. May I suggest to you that you, the person, is always relevant. You always have a place. There are times when the conversation may not be relevant to the topic that we're on. The kinds of thoughts that are sometimes added to our discussion are not necessarily relevant to the topic. But you as a person are always relevant, and I want to make that really clear to you.
Thanks, Patty. But you know what? I want to tell you something. I do feel relevant as a person. Sometimes my alignment is not there, but I do feel relevant. And thank you for caring about that part of me to make sure I was okay on this.
You're welcome. So, Blair, did you have anything you wanted to say on the relevance?
Well, to me, the relevance of relevance, the relevance of being relevant comes down to the self-other situation. So we can have relevance to self, relevance to other, like self to others, and relevance to the situation. So I think self-other and situation needs to be, as Shannon shared in here, needs to be considered as part of this, which was curious for me because it was one of the mind models that we did not have on our cheat sheet, as it were, our show notes, trying to figure this out. And yet, when Shannon posed that question, and I was already noodling this before, I was recognizing how there is multiple points of view and perspectives of relevance. Anyway, and we did bring that in, but anyway, I'll drop it there and let you carry on.
Well, thank you. I'm going to give you an example, which I think Blair did include in the study guide. I want to let you know the example was not something that I personally experienced. I actually pulled it from an old Chicken Soup for the Soul book from years and years ago. So I'm going to tell you a story, and I want you to notice how you feel in this story. And I'm going to ask you some questions as we go through it. But this is a demonstration on relevance being impacted by perspective, which is point of view. So a man's on the subway. He has 3 children with him. He isn't watching them. They're young children, but he's just sitting there staring into space. I share a subway car with him, and the children are all over the place. They appear rumpled and a little dirty. I feel frustration at the disturbance and his lack of managing them as they cross into my space and others' space, and they're being disruptive. What is your perspective so far on this situation? Brent?
Oh shoot. So far it is from what you're explaining, there's a gentleman he's having trouble corralling his children, keeping them uh what is appropriate behavior on the subway. So not running around. That's so far.
Okay, Leslie, what's your perspective?
And Jane wants to get in here too, I think.
Yes. Oh, I'll get you Jane next.
I think the man is very deeply troubled about something that is keeping his focus away from his children in
Interesting.
the situation.
Interesting. Jane?
My first thought was the man assumed that the children all belonged to him. That was
Oh,
my first
okay.
thought. There was an assumption made right off the bat.
Yeah, you're right. There is an
Um,
assumption made there.
So, yeah, so that was the first, my first thought was
What if they're not his
telling
children?
the story, it is assuming that they belong to him just because, and we're also not getting a feel for if there are other people in the car. He did mention that they were bothering other passengers,
Mhm.
but again, no one else was making any effort. So where did that assumption come from? So that was my first thought. The second would be also, if he is not attentive to his own kids, from where as I'm going to call myself a peacemaker and a mom, is this a role that he normally doesn't carry, therefore he is not mindful of it? Or is there something going on in his life that, let's say his wife just passed away and he is lost without her, he doesn't even know what to do, let alone corral the kids and whatnot, and have that emotional bandwidth. I love that word, Shannon, the emotional bandwidth of doing that care. So those were my first two thoughts: was A, did the kids actually belong to him? And
Mhm.
then B, his state of mind, what was the situation, the self-other situation? And, you know, granted, in a subway, you don't usually step out of your normal sphere, but we always, we always say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And therefore, was there anyone else there who could have said something and didn't, including the man?
Interesting. Interesting. Any other contributions to this discussion before we continue the story? Yeah, Jackie.
I'd probably try to interact with the children.
I can see you doing that.
Mm.
I can see you being a ton of fun with the children, to be honest.
Yeah, and I would have it all figured out by the end of the trip, wherever they got off.
Okay. All right. So the man raises his head and he looks at me and he says, "I'm sorry for the disturbance. My wife just died and I feel lost." So does that do anything to your perspective? Do you feel your perspective shift in any way? Kudos to you, Jane, for tying into that possibility.
It doesn't change my perspective in that there was something deeply troubling them.
Yeah, you picked up on that.
Yep.
Well done, Leslie. And well done, Jane. Any other thoughts on what that does to perspective?
I think our emotions, I mean, when you're reading the story, I can't necessarily see, you know what I mean? Because I'm not there, we're hearing it
Right.
auditorily. But the first thing that hit me was just this intense emotion. And then once you get clarity, then your emotions funnel down from general to specific. So I think that, being in touch with the names and labels for our feelings influences, just being aware of how our emotions influence our perspective and how quickly that can shift when you have more information, or go into story and shift in a completely different direction, because one is external and one is internal.
Right. And that's that mind model, real versus reality. So reality being the story that we're telling ourselves comes from an internal place, real being what has external verification. So did any of you pick up or feel any judgment toward this man in this circumstance? Did you feel any judgment due to the circumstances? Jackie.
Okay, so trying to be specific here. When I find out that the man has lost his wife, is it evaluation I make at that a point, or a judgment when I'm moving forward in my next step. Like
What do you think?
I'm trying to, I guess it's an evaluation. It is an evaluation for me anyway,
Right.
at that moment.
How come? What makes that an evaluation at that moment?
Well, because I'm assessing the whole situation and thinking maybe I should chat with the man and let the kid just do what they want. That's kind of where my head went. So,
Okay. One of the things that I would go here is just a tad analytical. Both Leslie and Jane shared information. And one of the key elements here is there was a judgment based on the information. Now that you have factual information, it's now was a high probability assumption that's now information, a fact, especially Jane. She was assuming that it could be something like that. So that's really where it comes down to. Does that make sense? So a
Right.
pivot.
But the perspective of the person in the story looking at this person was feeling frustration at this disturbance. We can look at it from the outside with our skills, self-other situation, and Leslie and Jane both picked up, using the mind model care and concern, looking at the situation with what could be going on here, looking at that with curiosity. The person in the story did not start out looking with curiosity. The person in the story starts with their feelings of frustration, annoyance. They're being disturbed. They're not happy about that. Okay, so the only externally verifiable evidence they have is the children's behavior and the father's lack of involvement. Now, both Leslie and Jane picked up going deeper. They're using their listening deeper, observing deeper skills. Both of you so spot on. Really well done. But at this point, then that person is in judgment, and then that shift has to do a lot with information, having more information, different information that's giving a certain amount of clarity, which then evokes more of the care and concern from the person who is actually involved in the story. So what other mind models do you use to shift your perspective? Jane, what mind models do you use when you need a perspective shift?
Well, I always try to start from evaluation rather than judgment, because as soon as I try and take my emotions out of it, I have a better, I think that I have a clearer ability to look at the situation from multiple perspectives.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
When you were evaluating the story, okay, it didn't sound to me like you had disconnected your emotions from your evaluation. Your evaluation included a number of feeling perceptions.
Right. I agree, because there was empathy in the lost look in the person's face. That's a very specific look
Yes.
or feeling that you can glean off of someone versus someone who's just not attentive and not caring, that kind of thing. So ask your original question again so I can.
Oh, I was wondering what mind models you use to shift your perspective. And you were talking about evaluation.
Yeah.
Trying to get from the back of the brain to the front of the brain.
Right.
But when you were evaluating the story, my question is that really what you were doing at that point?
I was looking for clarity instead of
Right.
and being in more specifics, uh, without getting to the point of asking, hey, is
Right.
everything okay? That kind of
Right.
um and obviously self-other situation is sitting there because there's a situation happening and there's me and then there's the other people,
Mhm.
including the man, the children, and other
Right.
passengers.
Mhm.
I think that there's a certain amount of perception, is that the right word? And perspective and perception being on at the same time because it's
Perspective versus perception is a mind model, and we've
oh,
talked about it in the past.
right.
Perspective
Um,
being more point of view, perception being more of that internal opinion that we bring to fill in our assumptions.
yeah. Does a Nanpu fit here? Because
Um,
not observing myself, but being aware and noticing the other person and trying to gain an understanding so that my process can be uh, either put into play or updated.
Yes, well said, Jane. A Nanpu does have a place to play in this whole scenario. Shannon put in the chat to help change my perspective. I'll ask myself, what else am I feeling? And Jackie asking, might I be missing something? So both of you there are into curiosity and looking for more data, looking for more information and more information to offer clarity.
I forget that curiosity is a mind model.
I
think
know. It's like too simple and it's easy to breathe right over the top of that. But curiosity is a mind model, and it's a definitely one to exercise. So we've got real versus reality. We've got perspective versus perception, the 3 E's, care and concern, which Jane brought out just in her evaluation of the whole thing. So, what role does acceptance play in relevance or in making things relevant? What role does acceptance play in making things relevant? Brent, you've got a thoughtful look. That'll teach you to look thoughtful on my camera.
I know. I gotta change my look when I'm thinking. No.
I'm joking with you. No, okay.
No, yeah. No, yeah. Okay, so now I gotta, what was it? What was that question again? I
Oh, I
lost it
did
there.
that to Jackie earlier.
I
What
know.
role does acceptance
Ah,
play in making things relevant?
well, that's what I was thinking of, where trying to place it. That's what I was doing when you called on me. Okay, so I was placing it. You have to, if it's things aren't relevant and there's a gap or difference between your internal state or your feelings, but accepting that is what is right now, and then being able to move forward. That's where you're at. Accept that, and then moving forward and accepting uh, what the other side is. If you're asking questions and getting a response, accept that information as information, and being able to then evaluate it as Jackie, I believe it was Jackie or man, apologies, but getting to the evaluation piece of evaluating the situation with more information, training those assumptions and asking questions, and now getting more external information and evaluate to check and accept what is that information.
Mhm.
Well said, Brent. Well said. Colin, are there any other mind models that you would use with relationship to relevance and perspective and acceptance?
Yeah, I was thinking about, I mean, this is kind of similar to what Brent was saying, but I was trying to put myself in the subway car. I was just trying to set myself there and think about what comes up for me. And it was really like get to now what is And yeah, the acceptance, because if I can't accept what is, then anything I come up with is not going to be as relevant as it could be, because I'll be like engaging with
Sorry.
reality, but not what's real, right? I'll be engaging with a false story. I don't know what to say there. Something that isn't what is, right?
What
So I
is.
have to say accept what is
It's
to be
an
maximally relevant.
interpretation.
Jackie
it-
added in the chat that acceptance keeps in the now and
Yeah.
enables curiosity.
Yeah, well said.
Blair, do you have anything to add to this discussion
Yeah.
right now?
The what is thing is about if you're not looking at what is and being able to ground that in externally verifiable information and pull that into yourself and go, that's what is, then what are you accepting? Because if you're not in a what is, you're in a what maybe or what will be or what might be, but not what is. And if you take elements of sort of what was and interpret it and sort of try and twist it into what is, then we can torture ourselves with all kinds of possibilities. I know personally from very, very firsthand myself, I've had to really discipline myself with a lot of my medical stuff lately. Just a quick story here. Today, I had a talk with my family doctor to apply for a handicap placard. Now, my doctor has all the information on me, on everything. And I think I shared last week that I had 3 men in the last 10 days go wow to my asshole. Another, like, just totally, it was healing well. That was the relevance of that. But knowing that that's relevant, he was willing to give me a placard, but forgetting about the fact that I'm still the what is my hips are going to need to be replaced. So he was thinking of it from a healing perspective of what he saw most recently and went, wow, that's healing very well. And going, okay, 3 or 6 to 9 months, you can have a temporary one. But the second I reminded him about my hips and that I'm not in for hip surgery for quite some time, hopefully within the year, knock on wood, then he just immediately jumped and went to, 12 months. No, we got to make this 12 months. And you can renew it, by the way, for your temporary one. And it doesn't mean that you have to get a health medical report to keep your license, and all of that sort of thing. And it was like completely focusing him in on what is, not an element of what is. And that made everything, that perception and perspective shifted relevance hugely for him and me. So that was critical. I also get it. I need to stay focused on the fact that I'm healing, I'm moving forward, and elements of what I do are highly effective. And I said, his question to me was, Blair, how are you doing? And I said, well, relatively well. And he said, wow, that's a really appropriate answer because of what he knows with me and my health situation. But he dropped the ball on a couple of things, which I just reminded of him, and boom, it worked well. Brent.
Yeah, Brent.
Yeah, you were saying with the doctor so his what is wasn't completely relevant because he didn't have all the information or didn't remember all the information that was at hand. So he was focusing on what is, but it was just a small portion, so it wasn't completely relevant to the entire situation.
Exactly. So
Okay.
you can have partial relevance or more relevant or complete relevance or whatever. So
Okay.
again, you've got to keep that in mind when you're thinking about what's relevant, what actually works.
So that was Jackie filling the gap. So he had there would have been some sort of assumption. I'm not sure if it was an assumption or if you're missing that information he didn't have, but he was assuming that was it. That what he
Or
was.
just a gap of
Yeah,
information.
yeah, just a
I'm
gap. Yeah,
assuming what he
Yeah.
had was complete. It just wasn't
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah,
Right.
Blair seemed to connect the dots for the doctor. So
Yeah.
do you recall filling in
Yeah.
the I'm on the wait list for hip surgery, and
Yeah.
allowing the doctor to go, oh yeah, right, that's in your file. I mean, how many files do they deal with on a daily basis, right? So
Yeah, lots. Yeah.
So Brent,
Oh.
would you like to try an exercise with Blair's example?
Sure.
Great answer. Would you like to would you like to take the mind model in ANPU, which is awareness, notice, process, understanding.
Mhm.
And could you walk us through Blair's example using that mind model? And Jane, if you could put what that means in the chat for people, I'd appreciate it. Awareness, notice, process, understanding. Let's go
Yeah.
through from Blair's point of view.
Okay, that's us. Whose perspective are we going through?
Yes,
Blair's.
let's
Okay.
take Blair's perspective to start with.
So his awareness. Oh wait.
Awareness, notice,
Yeah, I'm trying to put the information together about if we're
Okay,
thinking
well,
about
take a minute. It's okay.
is it getting the whole process of getting
He goes into his primary care physician, and
Yeah.
his intention is to secure a handicap placard.
Okay.
He's talking to his doctor, and his doctor says, "Oh, that's good for 6 months."
Oh, 6 months, and then Blair's aware. He's aware, first awareness, like, oh, only 6 months. There must be something else. So noticing that and then being aware that, oh, short period, and maybe he's noticing that the information that the doctor's having is only the small piece, like just from the surgery, from that he had the radiation, so causing that, and then being aware that he's noticing that, and then going ahead and noticing that he's aware of noticing that information. He's able to put the process through and ask the doctor, like, oh, hey, by the way, I've got the hip surgery as well coming up. So, and then it creates an understanding there that, oh, there's more to the process, that there was missing information, and it will just lengthen out the process of getting the handicap placard, and it's also renewable, so you can have it for longer.
So Jane brought this up earlier, the question of
Yep.
whether NANPU, which is what we put in the chat there,
Mhm.
how kind of that played. Did a NANPU create relevance for the doctor to Blair's request?
Yeah, it increased the relevance that was there, the situation, more information, to clarify the entire situation, that he had to bring up the information, make sure he knew, was aware, completely aware of everything's going on. So that way there wasn't anything missed when setting up the application process.
Yeah. Well
Yeah.
done.
It's like a light bulb. That first one, Blair, is like, tank awareness, a light bulb. Oh, something's up, just some
Exactly.
information like, hey, there may be something missing. And then
Mhm.
noticing that, then going deeper into noticing that he's doing it. So that was my
Yeah.
process. Was that effective for that
Yes.
example?
Bravo. Yes, I agree with Jackie. Bravo. You did that very well. Thank you, Brent.
You're welcome.
I know you're
I'd
always
also
up for a
like
good
to throw in
challenge.
here-
Yes, Blair?
I'd like to throw in here the idea of testing assumptions.
Okay.
So with this ANPU, when you're getting in there with some level of awareness, is that level of awareness accurate? And I was wondering, okay, I was thinking, my doctor knows all of my stuff. He'll just give me what's appropriate. And that needed to be tested. So what is his thoughts on this, which was my healing rate and sitting. And we talked about how sitting is when you have an operation on your butt like this, you realize how many things get impacted by sitting or not being able to sit. So that's a big deal. But then it sort of hung up there because he wasn't connecting anything further. I also happen to know that he's had 3 hip replacements himself. So so that's a good chunk of information to have. And then just going in there. So, and then asking him about his hip replacements reminded him, oh, right, you have osteoarthritis in both hips. Right, you're going to need, boom. It was like, you need this. Now, is it severe right now? Well, one hip, yes, the other hip, no. But let's just deal with it one hip at a time and deal with that. So anyway, that's
Blair, I'd like you to comment a little more on the power of choice and choice versus decision when it comes to relevance in communication. Would you be able to discuss that a little bit, please?
absolutely. Okay, so the power of choice here. I can sit back and be abdicate my responsibility in not choosing and assuming people know best. The doctor knows best. The person in authority knows best. As opposed to questioning the relevance of their choices, decisions that they're making on my behalf and seeing how that and just asking permission. Do you mind if we explore that and how that fits into my life? And man, when you ask those simple questions, everything pivots very quickly. Unfortunately, sometimes I forget to ask questions and I tend to tell, and that tends to be problematic. And sometimes another doctor doesn't happen to appreciate my concerns about what I'm going through, like I do. And me sharing my concerns in a telling manner is not as effective as it could be.
So Blair, what do you think the doctor's picking up when you're sharing your concerns in a telling manner?
Well,
What's the
actually,
doctor picking up?
most of the time, I think he's feeling like I'm wasting his time.
Really?
To be perfectly blunt with it, yeah,
Okay.
because
You don't
I
think he's
do
feeling self-defensive and feeling judged?
not, potentially, but yes, and that he's trying to move through lots of patients very quickly, and I'm consuming his time.
Ah, okay.
So he's very frustrated with me. He's also a very
Interesting.
talented surgeon from his profile and everybody else I'm talking to who knows his name when I give them his name. He's extremely talented in what he does. But bedside manner could be a little bit better.
Interesting. Okay, any other thoughts or comments on the topic tonight of relevance? Any other applications you'd like to explore, Jackie?
I just want to ask Blair a question. What do you, okay, no. What do you think about his perspective on bedside manner? Would he agree with you? Or do you think he might be having the same problems as the guy on the train or the underground or wherever he was?
Yeah. I would put myself in the role of the guy on the train. It was the father.
Mm-hmm.
He was judging. His language was very judgmental, and he was actually training an intern simultaneously, so he did not like being questioned or talked to. the next time I did have a call with him, I did apologize for how I moved forward because I assumed that that would be the most effective thing to do. And it probably was. It was also true that I was consuming his time. So his frustration with me is valid from his perspective as well. So I was not factoring that in to where I was coming from. So I was not being relevant from his point of view. And from my point of view, he was not overly sensitive to the emotional issues that I was facing with 3 medical situations when he's only dealing with one in my pelvis area.
Very
pelvic area.
contained environment.
Yeah, very tight environment.
It's to like know what is the intern learning from all of this, you know?
Yeah.
That's a
I
great
don't
question, Jackie.
And I'm not.
So, but is that relevant to Blair of what the intern is learning?
No,
I don't think so.
I'm just like thinking self, others, and situation. Like
Right.
there's so many little fingers that
I did think about that on the drive home, and the relevance that I saw when I recall sort of looking back at the intern's face, I think he saw both sides, and he was not. He was not happy with me, but he was less happy with the doctor in my gut response, because I really think the doctor sort of dropped the ball on how he managed me. And I was open to be managed at that point. At that point, I really was.
I've often found with these skills of like asking, that even though I'm asking with care and concern and like almost like you're giving the feedback for me or you're asking a question with that type of level of care and concern, that it's not necessarily received that way because it's so pointed and people are not used to having to get so specific in their answer. And often what I find is they feel interrogated.
Some of that's accurate. In that situation, I was not actually even, like, I was making statements to the 2 other areas of my body, my hips and other stuff that was going to be potentially operated on. And he had a 3rd area that he was going to do some significant surgery on. And I was scared, to be perfectly honest. And so my fear sort of took over and I got into protect mode. And it took me a while to calm myself down and to formulate a different strategy. I am really glad I did because, yeah, just aligning myself with intentions of figuring shit out. I'm glad I have the skills.
And that's exactly what I mean when sometimes I get called like I'm I'm interrogating. That's not my intention. My intention is just get some fucking clarity, man, because this is my health you're talking about, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear because that's what I literally said to him. I'm just trying to get clear. But he kept on saying, that's not when I talked about my hips and other body parts. He would keep on saying literally to me, that's not my department.
But I have a question.
Something you wanted to say?
This, from my perspective, when you go to a doctor or physician, you know, you mentioned his bedside manner. He had his own agenda in terms of being able to move on to the next patient and whatnot. But you were also what I call a customer or client.
Yes.
He is being paid to be attentive to your care, and you were not there, or at least my perspective, you were not there being Nancy needy and wanting to narcissistically take his time. You had a specific care and concern of your own, and that that's his job, is to make sure that those that you are getting the need, that the medical need that you need, and part of that is a handicap placard, is to make sure that you are not
The
overtaxing.
handicap placard thing is
I was going to
completely
say different doc.
Oh, different doctor. Okay, but even so, I
Yeah.
think that that's one of the things, and it's just my perspective. I've actually chewed out a doctor before because they had me sitting there for over an hour when I had an appointment, and they were taking in other people that were walk-ins. And it's like, I had an appointment and I realized that we all pay you. However, in terms of just if
Yeah.
this were a customer service situation, is this a mindful thing that you might want to consider?
Right.
And that's proven position, but that's, I mean, doctors are service providers, period. So,
Yeah.
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 And I hope things get better for you soon.
Well,
Actually, they are. I'm
Yeah.
sitting on my chair in my office right now without my donut. That's how much better my ass is. Like, that is freaking amazing. Day one without a donut. Like,
Well, for
yeah.
how long though? We're not talking 12 hours.
The
Well,
fact that he can sit without a donut for 5 minutes is a victory. So
it really is
I'm
because
just I'm just
cannot
gonna
do that.
say, losing the donut is a big deal. So
It is.
anyway, if there aren't any more contributions to this discussion, I think we'll start wrap up. Yeah, Brent.
That was something I just wanted to point out earlier was
Yeah.
the power of choice. Blair assuming it was tying right to
Yeah,
the test
trying to-
the assumptions, looking for those and testing those assumptions to and that power of choice to choosing to look for that,
Yes.
so that way you can find
Yeah.
the relevance and become as that. That's what I picked up on tying that together.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Um,
Well done.
Yeah, Brent. Well done.
Brent, I got to get you into coach training sometime.
Hey,
You're-
I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah.
I've set aside the money so that way I make sure I don't use it, and I'm
Well,
Yeah, we
waiting
have
for it.
I gotta
so much
start-
fun with you in coach training. Totally.
That,
Anyway,
that I am.
Colin, would you like to do the wrap up with us tonight?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. Brent, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. I thought Patty said you were going, so I was like, all right.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
No, but you're okay.
Facilitate.
Yeah, no, I understand. So is that new? I noticed we started that last week. Is that you're doing that as well?
Well, I'm giving it a go.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. No. What was that? Relevance. So yeah, this is quite interesting to see that how it plays and how the relevance works, and being aware of what each side and how in communications that could affect each side, your perspective, how it's going to affect the information, and so then maybe that gap, and relevance is like a gauge. It could be small relevance to larger to completely relevant. So there is that information. If there's gaps in there, that relevance is smaller. If the less of the gaps, the more relevance that there is. So it was interesting in that question, like Blair put out how, what was that relevant? What is the relevance of relevance? That is a thinker, gets you thinking. So that's one to keep thinking on, and keep your wheels rolling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed tonight, and so I give for me it was a 9. Yeah.
Thank you. Shane, I know you're off camera, but would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
I'm not sure if he's still there.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't
That he
sure.
might have
He
to
put
step.
something in the chat where he was just going to be
Okay.
listening because he had
Got it.
another meeting he had to attend. So
Okay, our other non-video participant is Lori. Is Lori able to participate tonight? Do you know, Blair?
Well, you're asking her, she's not here, so
Sorry, I
Oh,
am
yes.
here.
You are.
I have been very busy. I have a house guest now. My nephew is living with me, and I've been in and out. We started dinner just when the show started, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go back and watch things, as Blair knows. anyway, it's been very understanding about that. But bits and pieces that I've jumped in on and been able to watch has been phenomenal. So thank you so much. I'll give it a 9.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lori. Good to hear from you.
Okay.
Jane, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Sure. I was just thinking a couple of things. I've never thought about relevance and communication being separate. I've always thought that, it's part of your communication, but then, as we progress through the episode tonight, I realized that it can and cannot be. They both apply. But at the same time, to me, tonight, my big pop-up or aha or whatever was applying a NANPU to not just me in a stuck state, but a stuck situation or other. Specifically of being aware and then applying it for my own process. And so that was big for me tonight. So I'll give it a 9.5.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Jackie, I see you're writing some notes. Would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yes, I'm trying to be precise. All right. So when Brent mentioned a small relevance, that made me think about baby steps, like tiny little steps. So like we can build rapport. It almost seems like we can build relevance by asking and curiosity. So that was very interesting to me. That so influential, what I mean? It's like, because when you're stuck, maybe it's the relevance that's missing for the other person. And how might I build relevance to open up a discussion? So that was very interesting. I think I would give it a 10 out of 10, just for that point in entirety, because it Brent, you just pull things together for me sometimes, and I really appreciate that. And I can't wait to see you going through coach training. That would be awesome.
By the way, Jane, I really appreciate you popping up that 314 thing up on your screen there. You brought up 314. Your mic's closed. There you go.
18? Episode
314. You
Where do
brought
I-
up 3. I don't know how come, but your
Gonna say
face
I
went.
don't see it.
Oh, way
Then-
at the top? Was that 3,
Yeah.
4? That was,
I see
did I mistake
317.
last week and give it the
No.
wrong number?
No,
Three-
but it was just your camera went to 314, and I was
Oh,
reading.
I wonder if that's something in Zoom, because when I turned my camera off, it did its own thing.
Whatever.
Okay.
I thought it was relevant at any rate. Talking about relevance, yeah, right there. Feedback, self-worth, self-acceptance.
That's something that I must have done something within Zoom that's what it picked
Okay.
up on. I don't know where it came from, but
I thought, oh, right. Well, okay.
was it relevant?
I thought it was, but then again,
Okay.
Good one, Jane.
Unintentional effectiveness.
yes.
Excellent. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Leslie, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yes, thank you. We're giving tonight a 9.5. Very informative. And as I have an admission to make, and that is in our input on about the man on the subway. It was after the discussion was going, after the first part. I know I said that I thought the person had something that had been very heavy on his mind, very tragic. But it was as the discussion progressed that I realized that I had made the assumption that this man was of similar nature to me, as me, and I know that had the person in the subway, the man in the subway, had been more described of a particular nationality, and I won't get into it, my assumption or my thought process about the situation would have been different. I'll just leave it at that, but it was a realization that there was a missing piece of information that wasn't stated that I did assume that was relative and had relevance to the situation. So yeah, it's an admission of my own prejudices and inequities, but it is a reality.
However, is that not also admission of your own growth to be able to identify all of that?
Probably true. Probably true. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I would be true.
Yeah.
I don't want to back myself into a corner here.
Exactly.
But no, that was very good. And in the mind models that we've talked about tonight, one that Blair, you brought up, choice versus decision.
Right.
It's the first time I've heard that one. And I think that one is extremely effective. And there was one other thing, and I can't find it here. And I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
No,
Well,
I
thank
didn't highlight it, but 9.5. Excellent evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yes, sir. I thought the connection between acceptance and relevance was interesting. Blair, your comment about, are you accepting what is or what was or what may be in that, spectrum? And then the other thing you said is that it's not an element of what is, like not one pie slice of what is, but like the full context of what is. And then Jackie's comment about building relevance through rapport, I thought was really interesting. And that's going to like settle for the next couple of days, because I tend to move very quickly in my own mind. And if someone isn't right there with me, then I just keep going a lot of times. And so if I have something that I think is relevant, it's worth building the skills to make a case for it so that the value is able to be seen from multiple points of view. And then that got me thinking about how fun it might be to do a series on, because Blair, you also used the word in your story with your doctor about, you said I was willing to be managed, and I got to thinking about, it might be fun to have a series on management, and you could do self, other, and situation, but like skills to manage self, skills to manage other, and skills to manage situation, and how in different contexts those skills might look both personally and professionally. Because that was something that was an element of my job at the studio that I never considered. I was very focused early on with, managing time, because the size of my now is a constant reminder. I'm needing new strategies on running on time. But I always thought that, it was teaching exercises and managing time, and the whole element of how do I manage not only the situation, but this person in front of me, and then their expectations and their needs. And it's like this whole thing to peel in a really timely way. And so to grow some of those skills is very interesting to me. to think about that, because it not only needs to be done efficiently, but it needs to be done skillfully. And how we use our words to kind of manage and massage, experiences. And one of the things that, in terms of what makes the work, the master trainer that I'm studying under so unique, is very similar to mind models. And so how do you build value for mind models? How do you build value for anything that isn't very well understood? And the elements of perception, and I don't know, there's just so much of that became relevant to me through this conversation about relevance. So that's a 9 for me tonight. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Shannon. Gave me an aha moment, or maybe the beginnings of an aha moment. Hasn't fully materialized, I don't think yet, but I appreciate that. So I'll go. Is a 8.5 for me tonight. I think it'd be higher, but I'm just feeling kind of tired, strung out today, so it's been a little more difficult for me to be fully present. But yeah, Shannon, what you just said, actually, I think that'll be my new thing to share, which is building value for things that are not well understood. That's something that that's very relevant to me right now. Is I'm passionate and interested to share mind models with other people, but they're not always. I don't always present them in a way that is relevant to other people. So yeah, that's great insight for me to think through. So yeah, 8.5 for me tonight. Patty, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yeah, I would. I'm going to give it a 9 for me tonight. And Leslie, I really appreciate your sharing. You brought up something that we didn't touch much on, but it's the impact of attitudes, beliefs, and feelings on relevance in communication. And your sharing brought that back up. So I just wanted to highlight that, because those are very impactful on communication as well. Blair, your story with the doctor was a wonderful example, allowing us to kind of clearly break down some of the process of relevance and how it did impact both self, other, and situation. Brent, thanks for breaking it down for us and making it clear. And can't wait to have you in coach training. It would be so much fun. So, Jackie, are you like giving me one of these? Or are you okay? You're good. All right. So, yeah, that's it for me. Blair, did you want to take us out and kind of highlight your study guide and some of the YouTube shorts and some of those things that we're working on?
Yeah. Guys, we're really digging in here. I'm going to give Colin a bit of a shout out here too, because he shared something with me today that was very interesting. I've been picking his brain. He's been picking my brain, but I shared with him a manuscript that I started back in like 24 years ago. Well, literally 25 years ago, 1999. It's the 6 questions manuscript, which is 6 questions that are changing your life, all about question concepts. I'm working on that book. Colin did something that I found totally fascinating. He has access to this stuff, and we're working through things and moving things forward behind the scenes with Patty, Becky, Tim, and Colin and myself driving things forward. Anyway, the point being here is he asked ChatGPT, downloaded my manuscript, and took that and gave it a prompt to profile a paragraph of one of his coworkers who wrote a paragraph as though it was a journal entry. And he profiled it and submitted that to ChatGPT, having that being profiled from the information just in my book, which blew my mind. I would tell people for years, what I do is I profile people by listening to how they speak and the question concepts. Well, Colin inadvertently tested out what I thought I was doing for real in the real world, taking the manuscript and that paragraph and asking it to write something like a profile, profiling as though you're a psychological profiler, yada, yada, yada. And it did. And it did a decent job, a basic profile. And I go, holy crap. When I was telling people that's how I did it, well, now I have externally verifiable evidence that it's possible. You know, from a scientific point of view, the data was there, the input was there, the request for the profile was there, and then it pooped out a profile. Like, oh my gosh, which is, it was an amazing day from that perspective. Number one, I'm decided, by the way, I've been toying with this idea, but I'm going to also create profiling 101. So I'm going to start teaching people profiling skill sets. So, because I now have externally verifiable evidence that that is possible. So just sharing that with you guys. Okay, number one. Number two, please, you know, on YouTube, like and subscribe and comment and share this. Invite other people to join. We got to drive up the numbers. I am now pumped, psyched, excited to move forward with all this stuff, mind models, that is there because there's so much richness here that can be done with it. On top of that, we've just put together the, again, here's, pardon me, there's the link so that you can subscribe to the BDE Insider Hub. And please, you know, consider subscribing. There's like literally 14 pages of notes on there that you can pull from. It's got definitions. Well, it's got a glossary of terms. It's got a quiz with an answer key so that you can go through that, questions to ask, to ponder what has been there. It does have the story of the man on a subway and some comments about that are included. A lot of work has gone into this. In fact, there's more content on that than there literally is in our show notes. Like we have 4 pages here, that's 14. It's a wealth of information. So if you want details, you're going to have that on a monthly, well, weekly basis for only $25 a month. So consider it about $5 a copy. So it's cheap, $300 a year if you want to buy it on an annual basis. So please subscribe to that and support the channel. I want to expand, and I'm thinking of doing that and being able to take some of those things and then promote. That gives me a small little fund to promote this channel a bit. So that's another thing here. Today has been the relevance of today is huge for me. You know, it's all about relevance, but the relevance of this stuff is incredibly exciting for me. It's just coming in there. Colin shares his thing with people that he's trying this stuff out with. He's not even a trained coach yet. He's just taking it. He is a trained coach elsewhere, but not in mind models. So I don't want to undermine him saying he's not trained. He's very well trained, and has got tons of knowledge about psychology. He's one of the more informed people, including some of the psychologists I know. He probably knows a lot more than most psychologists knows because he tutors psychologists. But that gives me a perspective that I've been able to pick his brain on and glean insights that I've been unable to find elsewhere. And it's reinvigorated the relevance of mind models and the practicality that mind models bring to the world. Just how basic they are, how fundamental they are. And they're not theoretical, they get traction. And they are these well-tested thought frameworks, but they're designed to get traction and to transform lives. They're identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable. It's stuff. I'm getting extremely passionate and proud of having created this stuff, and a fresh pair of eyes has reminded me. So thank you, Colin. Patty's digging in, and it's amazing what she brings every week to this and her passion. So yeah. Anyway, I've got lots of work to do. No lack. Patty, it looks like you want to say something.
Nope. I'm just practicing my buttons.
There you go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's appreciated. Yes. Thanks, Jane.
That took
Okay.
weeks to learn, just saying.
Yeah, there you go. Well done. Okay, with that, you know what? In a lot of ways, I'm going to take it. I think tonight was a solid 9 for me, but the day about mind models, today has been a 10 for application. And Colin, you made a major impact on that. Patty, a major impact. And unfortunately, Becky and Tim can't be here. They're dealing with their mother's issues, medical issue. So they're, and my prayers go out to her family. Nothing major, we hope and pray. So anyway, guys, it's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't got it, and most of you have, but if you're on YouTube watching this, you can always go to the Blair Dunkley experience.com/BDE-insider-hub. And that will
Excuse me, Blair, is it blairdunkley.com or Blair Dunkley
oh, sorry, blairdunkley.com.
blairdunkley.com, just a clarifier.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, BLAIRDUNKLEY.com/BDE-insider-hub. Okay, so that's it.
Blair,
Yes,
can I post that on your Facebook page?
please.
Okay, thank you.
You definitely can. And it is actually a quick little funnel to have people join and get that. They will, like, if you're coaches out there, if you're looking for input from a fresh perspective, if you're looking to help your clients or yourself look at things from a different perspective, that works so well. Please consider signing up for the BDE Insider Hub. Okay. Also, Jane, if you can, post the link to the 3 E's freebies as well.
Okay.
So we're going to do that whole thing. And I'm working at finalizing the new Ultimate Mind Hacking expanded edition 2.0 with almost 100 extra pages. So anyway, guys, I know I have never been promoting myself much here, but I'm realizing I'm going to need to because I want to get this out, and I'm going to raise funds here, hopefully, to share this and get an advertising budget to take this to the world. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy, and I will see you guys all in a week.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you all. Bye.